Yo, 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 what's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there? Mrs. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
Doing great. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you for asking. Hey, everybody out there in the world. Hopefully you're smoking some big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. And Mrs. Weedman and I are about to get normal. We're going to smoke on some brandy pie that was grown by our good friend, Big Earl. I love when Big Earl comes around because he brings all the kids the goodies and the treats. Thank you, Big Earl, for this strain for the show. We appreciate it. We smoked this, I think, on another show, and it was great. It's just a great, mellow strain. Phenomenal effects. I love it. It's just so cerebral high. A little bit of euphoric, but also you're able to think clearly on it too. So it's such a nice strain. Taste is good, I guess, as my taste buds can taste, but the smell is pungent as all hell. And these buds are so beautiful looking with a purple hue to it. It grinds just so nice, especially when you use a clean grinder. Like I just cleaned ours out, so it's just perfect. And speaking of a clean grinder, if you haven't cleaned your grinder in a while, you should. And we soaked ours in some isopropyl alcohol, and it was just wonderful when I got it out, scrubbed it, and it was beautiful, and it's working better than ever. And so clean your grinder every once in a while, everybody. Miss Weeman?
Yeah.
Pass that over, will you?
That was great.
Nice. Get you normal?
I don't know. Is that possible?
We watched Succession last night.
We did.
We're coming up to the I don't know how they're gonna end it. Yesterday's episode was just deep roots, craziness. I'll hit this while I let you talk about it for a second.
Yeah, it's just a loaded show. Like we said, I don't know how many more episodes they're going to squeeze into this season.
One more.
Just one more. They've got so much to wrap up. I don't want to repeat everything what we said last week, but it's just such a loaded, heavy show, and it's winding up.
This was the funeral.
Big conclusions. Yes, their dad was being buried in this episode, and so much was transpiring within the time of the funeral ceremony. Oh, it was loaded. Definitely a great episode.
Poor Romulus. Oh man, had his chance to be the big guy on the altar and totally.
Not
saying anything else.
Yeah, that's it, Mr. Weedman. No more sharing.
No more sharing. So sharing isn't caring on an
no,
episode.
not when it comes to this.
I really want to know how they're going to end this, and I hope they end it well. I don't know if it's going to be a 2-hour. There's so much that needs to happen to close this show out. I'm so confused how they're going to end this and who's going to be in charge. Who's going to be in charge when it comes down to it. So I have a funny story. And every night when we go to bed, Yuki, we've talked about her a million times on the show, and you've seen a million pictures of her. She plays this game with me, and she loves to go into bed with us when Mrs. Weeman is in bed. She'll run up and jump on my side.
Like she races you to the bed.
She races me.
And she knows where he lays in the bed, so she tries to beat him to his pillow. She throws herself all the way up at the top of the bed and puts her head right on his pillow before he does.
Puts her full body. She's 63 pounds. Puts her full body weight so you can't move her, and she thinks it's funny because you look up at her and she's got a smile on her face with her tongue hanging out, just with this funny
Crazy
smile.
face.
So over the weekend, I said, you know what? I'm gonna go up there before she even knows it. And I got up. I did it Friday and Saturday. I got up there and she was so confused. So this is great. So last night we're winding down. We usually play with her for a little bit before we go to bed, and we know you do your nightly things before you go to bed. And I was turning the lights off, and next thing you know, she runs upstairs because Mrs. Weeman was up there already. Runs up there. And did not even let her ball out of her mouth. And next thing you know, I'm coming up the stairs, and she just jumped in my side. Looked right at me and jumped there and plopped herself down, turned her head and looked at me and gave me this smiley dog smile if I've ever saw one. I just literally fell on the floor crying. I was also very baked on some stanky haze, but literally fell on the floor laughing my ass off. And Mrs. Weeman just looking at her, just shaking her head going, she won tonight. I'm like, this is a fucking game to her. literally, like, she does this every night, but this time she wanted to make sure that she got up there first and she was present.
It was pretty funny. It was pretty funny. She ran up there. It was pretty funny.
This dog, I tell you, I mean, everybody has dog stories. Everybody has phenomenal dogs. I know it, but she just loves to to play games, mind games with us. And especially
Well, we decided in that moment because she was forward thinking and she was intuitive enough to know that you were getting ready to go to bed and she wanted to continue this game.
Yep.
And there was definitely like higher level thinking on her part. So we concluded she maybe has the brain capacity of like a first or second grader.
Maybe even a third grader.
I don't know.
She understands a lot of words.
But yeah,
But
I guess her when she disobeys, like she's a lunatic about going in our backyard.
Yes.
So if you even go touch the doorknob on the back door, she's like whoop, like a magnet. She's right there, nose to the door, let me out. And trying to open that back door, we have tried everything to kind of recondition her to learn that she doesn't have to be a lunatic about going out there. And every time, I mean, the floor is getting ruined, the hardwoods by the back door, because she's like scratching in like this frenzy to get out the back door. Like she might not be able to go out there because she just loves it.
It's her yard.
Yeah,
it's her yard.
And
I've used
like,
the gentle lead the last couple of days, and she still pulls, but not like where she's trying to gouge out the door. Because I've been.
Oh my God, she's not. You can't even
Yeah.
open the door. You're trying to open the door, and she's trying to squeeze her body out, and then her shoulders are more broad. So then it's just complete chaos trying to let her out. And I don't even understand how she's not injured every time she gets squeezed through this door opening and bouncing off the wall. She's just so crazy
when it comes to going out back.
When it comes to that. So there, I feel like she's got the intellect of a bean because she just doesn't get it, that she could just sit down and wait. And then there's other times where she's brilliant. So she's pretty normal.
If there's any dog
I guess,
trainers
like a lot of us.
that listen to the show and can help us with this situation by some training,
schmoly.
I've tried. She doesn't even care about a treat, so don't even mention a treat to me. I've tried to treat her to make her
the things that motivate her, toys, redirecting.
Doesn't care. As soon as you touch that back doorknob and she hears that, she can be all the way upstairs and hear that and come flying downstairs. She doesn't do it with the front door. She doesn't do it just the back door because that's her yard and she wants to be out there. Because there's squirrels out there, there's birds out there.
She's got work to do.
There's her toys are out there. She can run freely back and forth, and we have a decent sized backyard, so she can run freely throughout that whole yard. And just, I mean, she loves. She was outside all day today with you. You worked down the patio, and she was just out there running through the sprinklers, having fun, just wanting to be outside. Wouldn't you want to be outside if you were a dog? Of course, sure. I understand that, but there's got to be a way to calm her on that going out back door. If anybody can train us to train her, be much appreciated.
Yeah, any pointers, let us know.
And Yuki keeps on winning. Mrs. Weedman, you ready to get the show started?
Yes.
Let's do this. Sugar leaves. I love looking at sugar leaves when I'm growing my cannabis in my tent. They are the start of like where you start seeing the trichomes on your plant. And I mean, some sugar leaves are so crystally and so beautiful looking and so very sparkly. And but we never really talk about sugar leaves that much. So there's a lot you can do with them. So you ever wonder how to use these precious little sugar leaves? Let's read this article and find out. For many growers, obtaining sugar leaves is the best part of harvesting cannabis buds. Partly it's because while you can purchase buds in a dispensary, one cannot lay their hands on sugar leaves unless they personally grow cannabis plants. However, there are many growers that'll throw away sugar leaves because they don't know what to do with them. If you're one of them, here's the ultimate guide to educate all of us on how to use sugar leaves. I just eat them like crazy. Just pick them off the plant, just eat them. No, I'm just kidding. But I do love looking at them, and I love smelling them, and I love taking one when I can do my cutting and rubbing my fingers and just smelling it. Oh, amazing. What are sugar leaves? It's possible you've never heard of sugar leaves. However, if you're a grower, you have handled them. Once you grow cannabis plants, you'll notice that it's the developed leaves. These leaves get bigger as the plant grows and are known as fan leaves. Sugar leaves develop slowly along with the buds, while fan leaves are visible from the branches. Sugar leaves peek through the buds, where only their juicy tips sprinkle with a generous amount of trichomes are seen. So you have the flower of you have the flower buds, you have the sugar leaf, you have the fan leaves. So we'll post this so you can look at a picture of it. Sugar leaves are small and dainty. They aren't really visible in some plants where there's a heavy amount of resin. Once you remove the fan leaves, you'll see small sugar leaves clearly. Even fan leaves have trichomes, but in negligible quantities, named aptly due to the resin that resembles sugar. Growers collect even small leaves to make different products. How to collect sugar leaves. Collecting sugar leaves is as simple as harvesting the buds themselves. However, since sugar leaves are small, you'll have to spend some time trimming them one by one. For this reason, many people let the sugar leaves stay on the buds and smoke or vaporize them along with the buds. Another point to note is the amount of sugar leaves obtained per plant will be small. Thus, you can save the sugar leaves by storing them in an airtight mason jar and placing them in a cool, dark area. It says here I wouldn't put them in the freezer, but that's what it says here. But once you put bud in, I've talked about putting bud in the freezer, and those trichomes just break off and they just get destroyed. So I would put it in like a cool, dark area, nice low humidity. This will also ensure that the leaves, and here it says, are brittle, and it makes it easier for the trichomes to fall off when you decide what you want to do with them. Can you smoke sugar leaves? This is the question many people ask, and rightly so. If you've grown those plants with so much effort, it's a natural wonder if you can smoke them too. Yes, it is possible to smoke sugar leaves, but remember that it can be harsh on your throat. It doesn't make sense to trim the sugar leaves and then smoke them because you can simply leave them on the buds. You'll also need more sugar leaves compared to normal buds because the leaves don't contain as much resin present in the buds. Therefore, if you decide to trim the leaves, make sure you create something else from them and or just leave them on the buds. How to use sugar leaves. If you want to use sugar leaves to make different cannabis products, keep in mind that the trichomes differ from one strain to another. For instance, a strain like Green Crack Auto may not produce as many trichomes as, say, Gorilla Glue, that's famous for its resin. Just like the strains differ when it comes to effects they produce, the amount of trichomes also differs. Sometimes plants with super huge buds don't produce too many sugar leaves, while those with smaller buds will have a lot more sugar leaves. Last but not least, no matter what edibles you can make with sugar leaves. I use probably about 90% of my sugar leaves goes into my edibles. So just remember, if you're using sugar leaves, decarboxylate, which we've talked about before using them to activate the THC or CBD. So you can make edibles. People use cannabis buds to make edibles in short of buds, though you can easily replace them with sugar leaves. However, note you'll need to use a lot more sugar leaves compared to the buds because although sugar leaves do contain resin, they don't have as much resin as the buds themselves. What you'll probably end up with is an edible. It doesn't make you as high as the buds, but they are amazing nonetheless. So actually, if you want a little bit of a lesser dose, add more sugar leaves and less buds, mix it up a little bit, or just make straight sugar leaf, but you're not going to have enough. I mean, you got to have a lot of plants to do that. So add more sugar leaves, take out less buds if you want them a little weaker. There's plenty of recipes you can use with the sugar leaves to make edibles, from brownies to cakes to Rice Krispie treats, whatever. So if a recipe calls for 50 grams of flour, use 50 grams of sugar leaves instead to produce a milder effect. For a stronger high, use 50 grams of buds plus 25 grams of sugar leaves. That's probably about the average what I do when I make mine. So you can make it with the coconut oil. You can make it with butter, ghee, or whatever you want to do. So when you're making your edibles for your extraction, tinctures though. Tinctures are a great way to easily extract the cannabinoids from sugar leaves and having them readily available for years without having to worry about any fungal issues wrecking the crop. For a basic tincture, all you need is some sugar leaves, some Everclear or vodka, and in a mason jar. So what you do is you decarboxylate them, you add your sugar leaf, and then you add your whatever alcohol you're going to use. I like Everclear. I've used that before in my tinctures. And you put it in a jar, and then you leave it in there for 2 weeks in a cool, dark place. Every couple of days you go in and you give the jar a good shake, and then after 2 weeks, you shake it, you strain it, and there's your tincture. And there's also other ways you can do with your tincture too. You can actually burn out the alcohol, but I don't suggest that doing in your house at all. If you're not a professional doing that, please read up on how to do that, okay? But then you can use it as an alcohol tincture. I've used alcohol tincture to make sugar. I love it. Or you can just, very harsh, you can actually take a dropper and put it in your mouth, but that alcohol burns. So if you want to make a Rick Simpson oil, learn how to do it, and you can burn out that alcohol. But please go online and watch some videos and read about it. So you can also make topicals. Infused topicals are becoming very popular and are a great alternative for people looking for an easy way to get benefits of cannabinoids without having to smoke or eat them. To make a cannabis-infused topical, you'll need to decarb the weed, some warm oil such as coconut oil or shea butter, or a little beeswax. This process is very simple. Just melt the beeswax and oil together until combined. Remove them from the heat and add your cannabis. Let it cool to the room temperature before transferring it to a jar. A small mason jar, a little salve, what are those called? Little metal containers. I see all your bombs in it and stuff like that. What are those called that you can use? Just little metal containers, right? With a little screw-on lid. And then you can use these to put on your skin. It will not provide a psychoactive effect, but the cannabinoids can still help with pain relief, inflammation, and other issues. You can also make capsules out of them. Decarboxylate, grind them down. 2 to 3 grams should be enough for around 10 capsules, depending on the size. Start by grinding your sugar leaves into a fine powder with a mortar and a pestle or a coffee grinder. Next, scoop the powder into the capsules and keep them as full as possible. Place filled capsules in an airtight container or a jar and store out of direct sunlight in a cool place. They should stay fresh for a few months. Like I said, you can make your canna butter. You can also use tea. I love making tea with my leaves. It's amazing. The high is so good. So just brew some tea like normally you would do. Add the leaves to a what would you call it, Mrs. Weedman? What do you add what goes in tea?
I'm not saying it. He always tries to trick me into saying.
What is it?
It's tea.
Well, what goes in it? What do you put in it?
You put honey in it. He wants me to say he loves to do this, and then he makes everybody else uncomfortable. Just like every time we go through a drive-through, he yells across me to the microphone, "Can I get a cheeseburger? Hold the onions." It doesn't matter where we're at. And then he just busts out in this big laugh, and they have no idea what's going on. Get out of here. I'm not falling for your trap.
So you're not going to tell everybody out in the world what
everybody knows what tea is in.
You can also vaporize. Some growers don't bother to trim the sugar leaves, although it's okay to do that. Smoking sugar leaves will produce a harsher effect on your throat, but you can vaporize them. A volcano or anything like that, you don't have to have that harsh effect on your lungs. So it's a win-win situation for sure. You can also make hash out of the products, dry ice or bubble hash. So don't get rid of those sugar leaves; they're amazing. You can also ice water bubble hash, and then you can also make some rosin out of them. Get a bunch of them and take them. Make if you don't have a rosin press, I'm going to use Mrs. Weedman's hair straightener, and make some rosin with. So in conclusion, as you can understand by now, there are many ways to use sugar leaves. If you throw them away or your precious leaves in the past because you didn't know what to do with them, hopefully this article helped you out. Save those sugar leaves for your what, Mrs. Weedman? Your tea?
Satchels.
Oh, shit. What are some of the hot trends in cannabis right now?
Yeah.
How to consume it?
Yeah.
Like I'm going to do right now.
Hot trends in cannabis consumption. What are they? Well, about 55 million people use weed at least once a year in the U.S. and Canada. Over 2/3 believe cannabis should be legal and fully accepted, which leaves some wondering, what are the trends for consuming? From age 21 to 100, using cannabis is almost as socially acceptable as drinking and way more popular than cigarette smoking. And now more people are doing it openly. The days of locking yourself in the basement or sneaking outside to a corner of the yard and waning as people are smoking on their walks, at family events, and during public activities. I think I just totally botched that. Okay. The days of locking yourself into the basement or sneaking outside to a corner of the yard are waning as people are smoking on their walks, at family events, and during public activities. Much better. BDSA, a leading data company in the cannabis industry, shared some insight on what's hot right now. Flour still rules for now. About 17% of people subscribe to a food meal kit delivery service. Of them, 90% referred others to the service to which they had subscribed. Cannabis flour is the meal kit of the weed industry. According to BDSA, roughly 39% of all legal cannabis purchases are flour. This represents over $8.2 billion in sales. The number is over $10 billion when you add the black market.
Flour is power.
With flour, you can consume in a variety of handcrafted ways, like joints, bongs, bowls, butter, etc. Aficionados love it, and it gives a personal pre-journey experience as you craft it exactly how you want it, like having your own micro-production company at home. Flour tends to be the go-to choice for experienced users who don't mind the extra work and smell. Continuing to gain ground, not just in sales, but in public acceptance, is vaping. Despite some hiccups, like the Juul incident, vaping is increasingly popular, owning 26% of the legal market. Vaping represents over $5.4 billion in sales. New users love vaping, finding it easy to use, discreet, it allows for controlling dosing, and it's very portable. Another key reason, it eliminates most of the skunk smell around you, allowing appearances at public places like restaurants, black tie events, and weddings without calling attention to the user. The technology for vape development includes ways to consume cannabis and CBD. Nice joint technology, you could say. Edibles, beverages. Cannabis beverages are popular, along with gummies, candies, and even some food items, but they rank third in trends, representing 13% of the market and almost $3 billion in legal sales. Of course, this doesn't count your aunt's special brownies. And pre-rolls. With the retro vibe of whipping out a joint and taking a long puff, store-bought pre-rolls own 11% of the market, around $2 billion in legal sales. We are going to puff pass on making an assumption of how they do in the black market, as joints are still the most iconic imagery of weed use. Oils, suppositories, and other consumption types fill in the remaining sales. But with the growing...
Suppositories?
Well, remember,
Come
there's states
on.
where that's all you can use.
Only one I know of. Alabama.
But with the growing acceptance, especially among the under 25 set who prefers cannabis over alcohol, consumption will only increase over time.
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, flour is still power. I mean, here's the thing about edibles. I love them. But here's the reason why I don't know if they'll ever take over flour, and I don't think they ever will, because you hear a lot that edibles don't work on people, and I was doing some research on that lately, and I'll talk about that in the future. But a lot of people don't trust edibles still because they had that one bad experience, and they know they control flour or vaping better, and you talk about it all the time, how to control your intake, right? So edibles, if you take too much, you're in it. There ain't no getting out of it. There ain't no going back. That's why we always say start low and go slow. I love a good edible, but I also want to know my dose, so I don't know if they'll ever take it. And pre-rolls.
Pre-rolls are great when
I
you're
love
like
a
on
good
the go
pre-roll.
and you're going someplace.
Yeah.
Or if you want to just try, you're, in a new town and and it's legal and there's a recreation market and it's a brand you haven't tried.
Yeah. Or you can't,
a strain you haven't tried.
You're not going to travel with it back on the plane,
Yeah.
so you just grab a couple pre-rolls. I like pre-rolls.
They're great.
I think
They're handy.
especially if they're using, you're not going to get toppers.
But I'm a
and
flower
headies.
person.
Yeah.
Like both of us, I would say flower is our
100%.
primary,
Yeah,
our favorite.
that's our favorite. And you love a good joint.
I love a good joint. I do.
So this is interesting to me. There's a lot of stuff going on right now about psychedelics and helping people with psychedelic assisted therapy. Here's something new, though, because everyone talks about LSD, MDMA, psilocybin, ketamine, all that kind of stuff. But cannabis can be used in psychedelic assisted therapy. And this is, I thought, was really interesting. Psychedelic cannabis refers to the use of cannabis as a psychedelic assisted psychotherapy. According to psychedelic specialist Danielle McQueen, cannabis can help heal trauma and other mental health ailments. What qualifies as psychedelic cannabis? Due to advancements in cannabis over the past 20 years, marijuana is more potent than ever before. Because of marijuana's potency, marijuana is now compared to MDMA, psilocybin, and ayahuasca. If you don't know what psilocybin is, it's from mushrooms. Um, the strains determine marijuana's psychedelic nature. What qualifies cannabis as psychedelic is dependent on the particular plant strain and how they are blended to achieve a particular effect. Simply put, there is an art to psychedelic cannabis. It isn't as simple as using marijuana just to get high. Cannabis for use in psychedelic assisted therapy. Though less common in substances like psilocybin or MDMA, psychedelic cannabis can be used in psychedelic assisted psychotherapy. In psychedelic assisted psychotherapy sessions, ooh, that's tough. Hamana, hamana, hamana. The chosen substance is administered in a controlled environment. This means that a very particular dosage that has been studied and tested for its effectiveness is given to the patient. When psychedelic cannabis, a particular blend of strains will have been specifically chosen to provide an experience that conducive to developing deep emotional and even spiritual insights. The setting for this session is also heavily considered. In order to create a calm and soothing atmosphere, the music and lighting will be carefully curated to that patient has a healing experience. Is psychedelic cannabis legal? Well, we all know cannabis is federally illegal, but in your state it's differently. Decriminalization refers to overturning oppressive policies regarding cannabis, making it an essential foundational step in legalization. However, many states are in varying phases of legalization, from decriminalization to being outright legal. As such, it's incredibly important to be aware of your particular state's policies regarding cannabis. So I think it's great. I would. It sounds wonderful in the mood, the setting where you're going to be in, and just getting a little therapy in while you're high, but like psychedelic high. I think it's amazing. So hopefully they can do some more research on that and find out. Now, since we talked about cannabis and therapy, cannabis for dealing with past traumas.
Yep.
What are the new studies saying?
Well, here we go. Cannabis use for dealing with past traumas, what the new medical studies are saying. In the intricate tapestry of life, childhood trauma is an unfortunate thread that weaves through the fabric of our existence. It is an inescapable reality, one that persists even in the most loving and nurturing of families. This is because each individual, regardless of their background or upbringing, is fundamentally flawed, possessing their own unique set of emotional and psychological vulnerabilities. Moreover, the shadow of generational trauma looms over us, as the effects of past traumas endured by our ancestors may continue to impact our lives in subtle yet profound ways. Acknowledging the presence of childhood trauma in our lives is essential. It is important to recognize that our experiences, both positive and negative, shape who we are and how we interact with the world around us. By understanding the role that trauma plays in our development, we can begin to unravel the complex web of emotions and memories that have influenced our thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors. It is our responsibility to confront and address the trauma that we carry with us. No one else can undertake this journey on our behalf. It is deeply personal and introspective. It's a process that requires courage, persistence, and self-compassion. The good news is that we are not alone in this endeavor. A wealth of tools and resources are available to help us navigate the path toward healing and self-discovery. In this article, we will explore the lesser-known healing potentials of cannabis, specifically in relation to childhood trauma. We will also touch upon a blog that delves into the unique experiences of women with childhood trauma. In particular, we will discuss how cannabis can provide a moment of reflection, allowing individuals to better process and address their past experiences. Cannabis has been found to offer a unique mechanism that aids in dealing with trauma by providing a mental space where individuals can distance themselves from painful memories. It enables them to detach from the negative emotional loop often associated with trauma. This perspective allows individuals to become observers of their experiences, thereby initiating the healing process. A study conducted between 2007 and 2012 in New Haven, Connecticut, systematically examined the association between cannabis use, lifetime history of trauma, and chronic stress, as well as potential gender differences in the association. According to the study, higher rates of childhood trauma as well as lifetime trauma and major life events were found in cannabis users compared to non users. The association between cannabis use with childhood trauma was significant after controlling for age, gender, ethnicity, and regular use of alcohol or cocaine. In logistic regression analysis, cannabis use had a significant positive association with major life events and trauma, lifetime trauma, but not with chronic stress. When analyzed separately, only in women, the association between cannabis use and childhood trauma was significant. That's interesting. With the increasing acceptance of cannabis as a form of self medication, it is crucial to examine the psychological factors influencing one's decision to adopt regular cannabis use. Research has established a connection between childhood trauma and cannabis use, suggesting that the plant may help individuals cope with long lasting effects of their traumatic experiences. While it is known that childhood trauma affects boys and girls differently, the reason behind this gender difference remains uncertain. However, research suggests that chronic stress reduces the number of cannabinoid receptors in females more so than in males. Consequently, women who have experienced childhood trauma may be compensating for this reduction by using cannabis to stimulate their cannabinoid receptors. Whoa. Although scientific understanding of this is still developing, numerous anecdotal accounts highlight the benefits of cannabis in addressing trauma. For example, consider a woman who survived an abusive childhood and turned to cannabis to cope with her debilitating anxiety, or a war veteran who found solace in cannabis after being haunted by the horrors of combat. These stories may be anecdotal, but they demonstrate the tangible, human experiences that cannabis can help alleviate. As we embark on a path of healing and self discovery, we can choose from a diverse array of therapeutic tools and resources to help us address and overcome the traumas we have faced. In this article, they focused on the use of cannabis as a means to provide a moment of reflection and distance from painful memories. The powerful plant, with its unique capacity to facilitate introspection, allows individuals to view their experiences from a new perspective and initiate the healing process. In addition to cannabis, there are numerous other therapeutic methods available to support our journey towards growth and resilience. Counseling, for instance, offers a safe and supportive environment where individuals can openly discuss their emotions and experiences with a trained professional. Through this process, individuals can gain valuable insights into their thoughts and feelings, enabling them to better understand and cope with the impact of their trauma. Meditation and breath work is another valuable resource for those seeking to heal from childhood trauma. This ancient practice, which involves focusing the mind and cultivating awareness, has been shown to reduce stress, anxiety, and depression while fostering emotional well-being and self-compassion. By developing a consistent meditation practice, individuals can learn to be present with their emotions, cultivating a sense of inner peace and acceptance that aids in the healing process. Support groups, too, can play a crucial role in the journey toward healing. These communities offer a space for individuals to connect with others who share similar experiences, fostering a sense of belonging and understanding that can be profoundly healing. Through open dialogue and mutual support, individuals can find solace in knowing that they are not alone in their struggles and can draw strength from the shared experience of others. Each of these therapeutic methods, whether used independently or in conjunction with one another, can help transform pain into growth and resilience. By actively engaging with these tools and taking ownership of your healing journey, we can break free from the chains of trauma that have held us back. In doing so, we not only create a brighter and more empowered future for ourselves, but also set a precedent of healing and growth for future generations. Ultimately, the path to healing is a deeply personal and multifaceted journey, and each individual must find the methods that best suit their unique needs and circumstances. By remaining open to the various therapeutic tools available, we can gradually shed the weight of our past traumas, emerging stronger, more resilient, and better equipped to face the challenges that life has in store. In this way, we can truly embrace the potential for a brighter, more empowered future, both for ourselves and for generations to come.
Good article.
That's a nice one.
Yep. Oregon Governor Tina Kotek to cannabis businesses: pay your taxes or no license renewals. Yikes. With an estimated $18.7 million in retail tax revenue unaccounted for in the previous fiscal year, the State Department of Revenue is counting on this measure to rectify the situation and replenish their coffers. Yeah, that kind of sucks because, I mean, if some of these businesses aren't making any money, they got to keep their lights on. So it's kind of tough, you know, and I don't know all the Oregon laws and, you know, and how much the tax laws are there, but it's just crazy that just, you know, I get it. Oh, here it is. Revenue reveals that dispensaries have a delinquency rate of 9%, significantly higher than 3% rate observed by other business sectors. Oof. So hopefully they can like help, like lower the tax rates down. Let these businesses make some money, you know, so they can pay their workers better. And as I speak of that, workers picket outside of dispensary in Missouri to unionize. Another state, more dispensaries, and I'm going to say it again, don't join unions that don't understand cannabis, that have never stuck up for cannabis before. Start your own union. So go Missouri. University of Kentucky's Cannabis Research Center announces inaugural grants. Good for you, University of Kentucky. Now you're going to be going medical and then recreational. You're going to have one of your colleges doing some research with a grant between $75,000 to $100,000. So we'll subsidize research for 14 months. You're going to need a little bit more money than that. Throw some more money in there. Cannabis use on the rise among U.S. workers. Increase in use tracks with legalization efforts across the U.S. The number of U.S. workers testing positive for cannabis following the on-the-job accident rose to the highest level in 25 years. But the occurrence is still relatively rare in these instances. The new survey is based on 10.6 million tests between January and December of 2022, found that 7.3% of all U.S. employees who were urine tested following an on-the-job accident tested positive for cannabis, an increase from 6.7% the previous year. That's not that bad. So, of course, as it is legalized more in states, and it should be what people do at home is their business. So if it's legal, they should be able to do it. I mean, if you're not using it during work, meaning like if you're running heavy machinery, you know, that's like, I don't know if I'd use it then, but that's just me personally. So I can't speak for anybody else. Cannabis industry diversity. Mrs. Weedman just dropped the bowl all over the floor, didn't you, Mrs. Weedman? Oh, no. Oh, no. Cannabis industry diversity problems persist. The groundbreaking CEO program provides solutions. Inequity in the cannabis industry persists. As of 2022, the landscape of legal cannabis industry remains as homogeneous as ever, as it's not getting any better. For minorities, black men, black women, brown men, brown women, it's not getting better. They only account for 2% of the owners in the industry. That's just in Massachusetts. And it's forecasted to reach $50.7 billion by 2028. So I know a lot of states, like here in Illinois, they did a great social equity program, and the only thing that sucked about it, there was no money for the social equity for them to be able to open their licenses, and that's why it's taking so long. So if you're going to do it right. Don't make people wait so they lose their banking, basically. I mean, they're investors. California pot industry facing extinction event. Industry insiders are warning that hundreds of pot shops can go out of business this year. California's pot industry can be on the verge of extinction event, with pot shops going out of business as they miss tax payments and sink under millions of dollars of debt. Debt problems have plagued the industry for years. Estimated the industry was collectively sitting on over $600 million in debt. Oh my God. Oh my God. You shouldn't be in debt. And I know it's not. Some of this is not your fault, but a change in the tax law that took effect this year has stakeholders worried the mounting debt bubble will finally become fatal. A San Francisco politician introduced the law this year in the state legislature that could crack down on pot businesses that don't pay their debts. Sounds like Oregon. State law recently shifted the burden for paying cannabis excise taxes from distributors to retailers, With the first tax payments due May 1st, retailers have historically had the most trouble paying their bills, and it appears that many shops lack the cash to pay the state excise tax, according to the new state data obtained by SafeGate. Over 13% of California's retailers, or 265 pot shops, failed to make any tax payment by the May 1st deadline, according to the California Department of Tax-Free Administration. These businesses are now facing a 50% penalty on the taxes they owe. So now you're just going to get them deeper into debt. Now they're not going to be able to pay anything, and they're going to close shop, and you're not going to get any money. I'm going to say this. I've said this once, and I'm going to say this again. State governments, the federal government, you don't deserve none. Zero. Zilch. Nothing. You deserve none of these taxes. Nada. Because you fucking chastise it, you beat it, you arrested people, you had your police forces, your FBI, your DEAs, the war on drugs, which cost this country $1 trillion that could have been used for a lot of other things. You don't deserve none. Nada. Zilch. You deserve a kick in the ass for all the pain and suffering you've caused everybody in this country, all you politicians out there. That's just me. Take it or leave it. Senator Melissa Agard is bringing her grassroots tour to Eau Claire and Wausau, citing that 70% statewide public support for cannabis legalization. State Senate Democratic leader Melissa Agard, Democrat Madison, is in the midst of a tour around Wisconsin. Can I come with you? Designed to produce legislative Republicans into ending a state prohibition on pot that is forcing consumers to send money in neighboring states. Yeah, you're going to be fucked even more because Minnesota's just about to go. And now you're caught between two states that are legal, and you're gonna fail. So you better do it right to get those customers to come back, because we're actually seeing in Illinois with people going to Michigan and people going to Missouri because the taxes are lower. So you better do it right. And if you want somebody to come with you, Senator, just call Mr. and Mrs. Weedman. We'll tour the state with you, right, Mrs. Weedman?
That's right.
Minnesota Senate approves cannabis legalization bill, sending it to the governor, and the governor says that if it hits the desk, I'm signing it. Great. The Minnesota Senate marijuana legalization bill to hit Governor Tim Walz, who has pledged to sign it into law. The state is now just one signature away from being the 23rd in the U.S. to legalize cannabis. And they said they were going to do it right. We'll see. Group plans to put legalization on medical cannabis on Nebraska ballot. I want to see this. I want this to go through. Last year, with only months to gather roughly 87,000 signatures needed from registered voters, organizers failed to collect enough valid signatures in time to get the question on the November ballot. So now they're really going after it, and we'll see what happens in November. So let's go. The deadline for the signatures is July 5th, 2024. Find somebody that's got a clipboard, write your name on there. Let's go, Nebraska. So people driving through it from all the other states that have legal cannabis don't get arrested anymore, first and foremost, because now you're going to be good in your state. This is crazy. Adult use cannabis sales in New York surpassed $16.5 million, and they've only had, I think, the 10th dispensary opened up. They only had one, remember? So in 16.5 million so far, and only 10 dispensaries. That's crazy. 6 of these stores in New York City, where there's as many as 1,400 illicit cannabis bodegas around there. The city's trying to put out of business, but 16.5 million for only a handful of dispensaries. Just wait till they fully get their shit together. I mean, you're gonna see like $300, $400, $500 million months. It's gonna be crazy. Tobacco use. I've had an issue with tobacco use for a very long time, and seeing this, as weed legalizes in a lot of states, we see a decrease, right?
Yeah. Yep. Weed legalization has contributed to a decrease in Tabasco use.
You do like it hot, Mrs.
Probably
Weedman.
an increase in Tabasco use, but a decrease in tobacco use. That's my guess. A new study found that tobacco consumption has decreased in states with recreational cannabis legalization. A study published in the Journal of Health Economics addresses the topic of tobacco use in the wake of cannabis legalization. Entitled, Have Recreational Marijuana Laws Undermined Public Health Progress on Adult Tobacco Use? Researchers found that cannabis reform in individual states has led to decreased use. The study was conducted by Bentley University, San Diego State University, and Georgia State University. This study is the first to comprehensively examine the impact of the legalization of recreational marijuana on adult tobacco use, the author explained. Researchers reveal three key findings in their study. First, that first stage results from the National Survey on Drug Use and Health and Population Assessment of Tobacco and Health show consistent evidence that recreational marijuana law adoption increases adult marijuana use by 2 to 5 percentage points, including through vaping. Second, authors state that they find no evidence of legalization of recreational marijuana increasing adult tobacco use. And lastly, that recreational marijuana laws adoption, accompanied by the opening of recreational marijuana dispensaries, is associated with larger increases in electronic nicotine delivery system use than in those areas without open dispensaries.
They made it sound so nice. Electronic nicotine delivery system.
Yeah, vapes.
Do you even vape, brah?
But tobacco vapes.
Yes.
Yeah. Ultimately, authors wrote that the increased number of recreational dispensaries is an important supply channel to explain substitution between marijuana and tobacco among adults. However, they conclude that the rise of cannabis has led to cautionary warnings from public health experts who call for more research. One of their primary concerns is that the rise of cannabis smoking could lead to an unintended renormalization of smoking that could potentially set back existing tobacco control policies. The Surgeon General report of 1964 is famous for connecting tobacco use to lung cancer, stating that smoking cigarettes was responsible for a 70% increase in the mortality rate of smokers over non-smokers, according to the National Library of Medicine. According to Surgeon General Luther L. Terry, the report hit the country like a bombshell. It was front-page news and a lead story on every radio and television station in the United States and many abroad. Nearly 60 years later, tobacco use has widely decreased. The authors found that tobacco use fell earlier in states with recreational cannabis legalization than those without. The results provide some support for the hypotheses that tobacco use declined in several of the earliest adopting states, most notably in Colorado and Washington, which are also the states that saw the largest increase in marijuana use following recreational cannabis law enactment, authors concluded. In February, California legislators introduced a bill that would ban tobacco sales to anyone born after 2006 to phase out tobacco use and addiction. However, big tobacco industry leaders are continuing to find new ways to move into the cannabis industry. Of course they are. One of the biggest tobacco companies in the world, British American Tobacco, BAT, announced last September that it would be purchasing a Germany-based cannabis company called Sanity Group, GmbH. We continue to transform our business through better understanding of our current and future consumers as how to make money. It's just going to be big cannabis as part of our A Better Tomorrow purpose, said BAT Chief Growth Officer Kingsley Wheaton last year. Data from other studies still shows evidence that tobacco use continues to plummet. A May 2022 study found that cannabis legalization has contributed to a decrease in alcohol and cigarette consumption. Another study from July of 2022 shows that cannabis use is supported by Australians much more than tobacco use. And a Gallup poll released 1 month later in August of 2022 also showed how Americans smoke more cannabis than cigarettes. I say amen to that.
That's good.
Yeah.
International news. Eswatini wants legal cannabis, but locals say that's bad for business. Masbane Eswatini plans to legalize the lucrative cannabis trade in the southern African kingdom of Eswatini by overhauling a 100-year-old colonial drug law that are being slammed by activists and farmers. The critics say a new bill will propose legalization for medicinal and research purposes will undermine the trade, which for decades has provided a meaningful income for many, from grandmothers to young men in a small economy with few employment prospects. It's landlocked in landlocked by South Africa and Mozambique. Has a population of about 1.2 million people, and according to the World Bank, an unemployment rate of 24%. Oof. So cannabis can be a great industry for them. They can also probably grow hemp and make textiles out of it too, and sell that on the market too. So hopefully they can pass this 100-year-old archaic law that's just crazy. The Isle of Man to grow cannabis businesses to diversify economy. British Crown dependency hopes to license as many as 10 medicinal cannabis firms by the end of 2025. That is awesome. Switzerland continues to expand cannabis research trials. 2 more Switzerland cannabis studies green light by the Federal Office of Public Health. One cannabis trial covering the areas of Bern, Lucerne, and Biel, and another in Geneva were recently approved in Switzerland. According to the press release on May 10th, the SCRIPT study, Safer Cannabis Research in Pharmacies Randomized Controlled Trial. Gosh, I hate acronyms. Because I can never remember. That will cover Bern, Lucerne, and Biel received approval from both Swiss Federal Office of Public Health and the Cantonal Commissions of Ethics and Ethics Commission of Northwest and Central Switzerland. Awesome. Let's go. Just legalize it. All right, Thailand. I've talked so much about Thailand. I've watched so many YouTube videos about Thailand, shows about Thailand, and how Thailand's just, gangbusters. Weed is gangbusters. Buy it in markets. You could buy it in stores. You could buy it in farmers. It's great. So this new election results in this new party. The winners of the election may reverse the recent policy that made Thailand the first Asian country to decriminalize recreational cannabis. Thai voters have delivered a surprising and stunning verdict in favor of the opposition party that advocates for significant institutional reforms in the country. However, the winning parties may reverse the current cannabis policy, which has resulted in an unregulated market and has faced criticism from many parts of society. So if you come in, fix it a little bit. Add some standardization in there so people are protected in what they're smoking. So there's a lot of people making a very good living, and there's some really good people out there growing some really good cannabis and doing a lot for the plant. So just don't shut it down. There are people out there that are making money on it and feeding their families. So fix it. Work with the people already doing this and how you can make it better, Thailand. Man, I got high praise for you because of what you've done. Another Singapore man got hanged in charges of trafficking about 3 pounds of pot. Another that's 2 in like less than 3 weeks' time. So, man, crazy. Costa Rica grants its first license for medical cannabis. I want to go to Costa Rica. I'm excited about that. That's a dream. Morocco. Now, I've smoked some Moroccan hash in my time, and I've talked about hash a lot, and I love some good hash. You don't see a lot of Moroccan hash in the States anymore because everyone makes really good hash here now, but there's nothing better than some good old-fashioned like Afghani hash or Moroccan hash or Jamaican hash, just that old school way of doing it. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. But this month marked the start of the country's first legal growing season for cannabis. In May of 2023, the Moroccan government allowed farmers to begin cultivation of cannabis for the legal market 2 years after allowing farming for medical, industrial, and export purposes. The move was also intended to help impoverished farmers in the region and curb the influence of the traditional market. Cannabis is mostly grown in the Northern Mountains region, and the country is considered by the United Nations to be the world's largest producer of cannabis resin. Hashish. Cannabis for recreational purposes is still illegal, and growing it has been illegal since 1976. The legal market will guarantee them income 4 to 5 times higher than what they earned illegally, said Mohamed El Garojo, director of Agencies Nationale de Réglementation des Activistes Relatives AU Cannabis, and ANRAC. Through the cooperatives, they will negotiate prices. They will have fixed incomes, which will provide them with the ability to invest and improve their lifestyle. Cannabis has been grown on the traditional market in the country for decades, but the last year, the first 10 permits were given to grow cannabis for the legal market. The first permit for a cannabis laboratory to process cannabis in food and pharmaceutical industries was issued last year as well. More than 400 farmers have already obtained a cultivation permit, and 75 operators have received processing. marketing or export permits, including pharmaceutical industries, agribusinesses, cooperatives, and individuals. The Moroccan government distributed seeds manufactured in Switzerland to the participating farmers to begin the cultivation. Concerns for the future direction of the impact of the market includes resistance from the farmers who are not familiar with the traditional market and the lack of plans to legalize cannabis for recreational use. Well, I want to go smoke some hash in Morocco.
So do I.
Yearbooks.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting.
Did you wait for your yearbook every year?
Oh,
Were
yeah.
you excited about getting it?
Oh, yeah. In high school.
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
You were also excited when the kids got their yearbook, too. You always
Yeah, it
wanted
was
to
just
look at
fun,
it. Yeah,
right?
It was good. There was always some interesting sections of the yearbook. I remember one year in my yearbook, I don't remember where, I think it was like maybe freshman year. And I remember you do the parade and you make the floats and stuff like that. So our float one year was, I went to high school and our mascot was the gator. And so we all had to do some kind of float with the gator. So ours was Robin Hood. So then the people who helped build it, they all drew out of a hat who got to be on the float. But you had to dress up as one of the characters. I dressed up as Little John, and they all had us wearing tights. So I had to go running. Remember those the tights that came in the eggs? Yeah. So I found a pair in my mom's closet, and I threw those on. And I didn't even care what color they were.
They were called legs.
Thank you.
With 2 G's.
Eggs for the legs. But I had hair on my legs. And all the hair was popping out of the egg legs. Oh, God. And there's a picture in the yearbook of just from my waist down. I'll never forget seeing it. And there was like best legs. And then there was a picture of like with a little like caption going, "Don't ever do this." Kind of. So I think the only thing I remember from my yearbook. It was so funny. So that's my yearbook story. You got one?
No, but I was always excited to get the yearbook. And then you'd pass it around and you'd have everybody sign it. I think I'm actually still missing my junior or senior yearbook because I passed it along to somebody to sign and then the bell rang and they threw it in their locker and I never got it.
Mine are gone. Remember they
mine are probably gone.
They got in a flood. Remember when we lived in Florida?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we had a flood in Florida, so all my yearbooks are adios.
So, that's all right. Mine got thrown in the trash, I'm sure, when my parents moved out of the house that we all grew up in.
Oh, man. But this is crazy.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
This is crazy. So
some parents in Missouri are freaking out over a high school yearbook section on what?
On weed.
On weed.
Yeah. Missouri parents are freaking out about a high school yearbook that includes students' opinions about cannabis, sex, and other taboo topics. Kirkwood High School, located in a suburb of St. Louis, has already won several awards for its boundary-pushing Pioneer Yearbook. For this year's edition, the yearbook pushed boundaries even further by including 2 sections that students shared their views on cannabis, alcohol, vaping, and hookup culture. This bold move has enraged some local parents, though, and many are now calling for the school to censor its students. The yearbook is you know what part of my problem is? I'm so congested that I can't, it's a challenge to even breathe over here. I've got like major allergy moments going on. It's like,
it is May.
I can't breathe through my nose at all, so I'm struggling. There might be some heavy breathing on this episode. Sorry, everybody. The yearbook is a really big deal in our town, explained Nikki Walker, a mother of 2 local students, to Today.com. But she was apparently horrified to discover that the current yearbook includes sections about booze, weed, and sex. When you land on the drug and alcohol page, there's a picture of a vape, a beer, and then there are some surveys where the kids are saying that they prefer drinking over smoking, she said. Other local moms agree. My heart breaks for all the children in their entire generation, wrote Carrie Tuminello, another Kirkwood parent, on Facebook. It is deeply disturbing to see a school openly exploiting the illegal sexualization and drug and alcohol abuse of minors. The students aren't celebrating drugs and alcohol, though. Several students argue that drinking and vaping pose serious health risks. At the top of the page, one anonymous student warns that alcohol can permanently damage your brain, especially underage drinking. One student does say that drinking is okay occasionally, but also acknowledges that drinking alone or even drinking every weekend can be harmful and abusive. The section also discusses cannabis, but again, students aren't glorifying weed. An anonymous student said that it isn't fair that one state would send someone to jail for smoking pot, but another state wouldn't. Another student says that they supported recreational cannabis legalization, rightly noting that minorities are disproportionately incarcerated for possession of marijuana. Conservative Missouri parents seem to be even more riled up that the students' frank discussion of sex is more of a problem for them than drugs. A photo in the hookup section shows a bra, some lip gloss, a pregnancy test, and a pack of Plan B contraceptive pills, a hot button issue for a state that has completely banned abortion. One parent even asserts that the lip gloss pictured in the article is for blowies, even though the page...
How would that parent know?
I know, right? Right? Even though the page clearly talks about kissing. Parents are blaming the school for allowing the taboo content to be printed. But officials made it... I mean, it's like they turned it into like a glamour magazine. That's all the stuff that you'd read when you were a teenager in
That's why people
all
like
magazines,
yearbooks.
right? Parents are blaming the school for allowing the taboo content to be printed, but officials made it clear that the yearbook's content is completely controlled by the students themselves. The yearbook staff has gone on record to argue that they are recording the actual experiences that students are actually going through, regardless of the potentially offensive nature. As high school journalists, we are simply trying to record the real history of the year. Yearbook is journalism, so there is good, sad, happy, and bad, just like high schoolers' lives. Those are the things we want to reflect upon, said Avery Operman, editor-in-chief of the Pioneer Yearbook. I think it's important to give students voices, and we shouldn't be afraid to talk about these types of topics, or any topics for that matter. Covering topics that matter helps spur discussion and help educate people. Not all parents are condemning the yearbook's bold decision, though. Dr. Derek Byers, another Kirkwood parent, told local NBC affiliate 5 on Your Side that controversial sections aren't condoning drugs and sex. It's just saying that that's what they're experiencing. It's sort of recognizing what these kids are dealing with these days, which is gender issues, racism, censorship, sex, relationships. I mean, these are issues that they're dealing with. Freedom of speech at its best in our educational system. So, interesting to see that it's being challenged. It's just different, you know. It's not what you usually would see in a yearbook, but hey, freedom of speech, right?
I don't think I mean, I'm looking at the page in the yearbook. I mean, it doesn't...
It's not that bad.
It's
right?
not that bad. I don't know.
I mean, they used, for crying out loud, they used to put in yearbooks the most popular, the funniest. I mean, they were completely opinionated bullshit, and it made a lot of kids feel like...
Oh, it was a popularity
like
contest.
It was,
yeah, it was
right.
popular. You try to
and it was whoever was friends with the people on the yearbook.
Right. Or if you got
or,
enough people voted for you and stuff like that, because you got to vote. I mean, it was a voting system sometimes too. So it was just like, it was a popularity contest, and everybody wanted to be in the yearbook some way or somehow.
You just wanted your name mentioned more than just next to your photo.
Your picture, like if you were like, what was it, class clown or most school spirited or right. So it's just like everybody wanted to be a part of it, you know, and you were part of the cool kids if you were in it, you know. But I like this better. You put social issues in there, and you get the opinion of what the kids and what people are thinking, you know, and what are the issues sometimes. And that's what I think yearbooks should be. It's a remembrance of what the year was all about.
By senior year of high school, I would say by choice, if they want to be on social media and have access to the internet, they've all had it for a long time. Yeah. So anything that you're seeing in this yearbook can't be any more offensive than anything that they see every day in their life.
Yeah, I mean, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. I mean, there's so many, and you can Reddit. You can dial yourself into any direction you want to go and see a hell of a lot more than you see in this one page of a yearbook. So the people who are in there bitching and moaning about what this yearbook stands, once you go on social media and just internet in general, you can find anything you want, even worse. So relax. It's a yearbook for them to remember. They're all graduating, and they're going to remember that page and say, you know what? This was taking place in my time. Right?
Right.
Yeah. So, man, Mrs. Weedman, that's the end of the show.
It went fast.
Always does when you're having fun and getting high.
Can't breathe. I'll be all right.
Man, May and June are the worst 2 months for you and allergies, boy.
And it's just like the wind blows, and I'm completely stuffed. And then in an hour, I'll be fine. And then the wind will blow again, and I'll be stuffed.
Allergies, terrible.
It's okay.
But you'll be all right. It'll go away soon. Once July, August come, you're good.
That's right.
Until the fall.
That's right.
Hey, everybody out there in the world, we love you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for just showing us love. We love you back. Everybody out there needs to be kind to one another. Shake some hands, kiss some babies, give some hugs, smoke some big fat joints with people, tell some stories. Just be overall nice to people. Just be kind. I was in Whole Foods the other day buying stuff to make dinner for Mrs. Weedman and I, and this lovely person just came walking by me and said, you just got to be kind to people. I said, you know what, ma'am? I see it's just treating everybody like a human being, showing some love, just being kind and saying a good word to everybody and going out and just, if you're nice to people, people are going to be nice to you. If you smile at somebody, they might need a smile, and they'll smile back. Or maybe they just needed someone to smile at them to make them feel like they're loved. So that's it. It's not that hard. If we could all just show a little kindness out there each and every day, everything will be all good. Right, Mrs. Weedman?
That's right.
All right, everybody out there in the world, as Paulie always says, smoke smart. Puff, puff, and away.
Puff, puff, pass.
Check out our cannabis lifestyle brand online at 8decades.com. Our custom smokes and accessories are perfect for your coffee table, bedroom nightstand, or kitchen counter. They're designed for you to show them off. The Canna community is also loving our hemp and cotton blend t-shirts, sweatshirts, scarves, and hats, finished off with our 8 Decades logo. We've got some awesome long-lasting goods that will be your favorite for years to come. 8 Decades, because a 9th decade of cannabis prohibition isn't acceptable.